come on, let's merry-go, merry-go, merry-go-round. Merry-go, merry-go, merry-go-round.
It was supposed to be a wonderful life-affirming moment when a black man, Tiger Woods, won the US Open Golf Championship.
Fantastic! Black people are being encouraged to take up the only sport that's an environmental disaster. I mean, why not make mercury dumping or asbestos poisoning a sport and go the whole hog? Golf is spreading across the world like a virus, like a badly dressed version of typhoid. Everywhere you go, forests are being felled and rivers are being drained to make one more bollocking golf course. Pretty soon you'll be able to circumnavigate the globe via golf courses. You're going to see documentaries on the telly like Around the World in 3 Under Par and golf courses where the Serengeti used to be. And when the world is all one giant golf course, where are the poor gonna live, eh? In the bleeding holes, that's where. Boing, 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 boing. I'll get you, Nick Faldo, you bloody bastard. Boing, boing, boing. And okay, if all the minorities are suddenly gonna be playing bloody street golf, what I wanna know is who's gonna be the golf equivalent of the Harlem Globetrotters, eh? What is it with all these stupid bleeding clubs, eh? It's just a fetish for expensive equipment. Surely all you need is one stick and a load of separate bloody ratchet heads. Think about it, yeah. You know, Mark Twain once called golf a good walk ruined. Good wank ruined in my mind, but anyway, called it a good walk ruined. But now it's not even exercise. I mean, now you'd have to call it a good trundle in a stupid twatting little electric buggy across manicured grass ruined. In phone boxes in London, you get all these smutty adverts, you know, like beautiful butterfly needs mounting and Miss Bondage is a strict mistress. I don't know if you've seen mine. Fat schoolboy wants his dinner. Yeah, all these pervies come round to my house and I'm sitting there in my school uniform going, I want me dinner, I want me bleeding dinner. And they're going, well, that's not what I had in mind at all. I want me dinner, I want me bleeding dinner. But now you're getting an interesting situation. Not only do you get prostitutes advertising their services to businessmen, you also get businessmen advertising their services to prostitutes. Let Terry come round and sort out your plumbing. Stern Silk, genuine 47-year-old, will issue your writs for payment. And Big Dr. Tony MD tackles your downstairs problem. Clean and confidential. I'm actually something of a father figure to a lot of young comedians. I'm also something of a father figure to a lot of illegitimate children. You know, young comedians, they seem terribly limited in their references these days. All they seem to do is stuff about adverts and television programmes from the 60s and 70s, like they go, do you remember Spangles? Yeah, so bleeding what? There were some good programmes in the 60s and 70s, though. Do you remember Daktari? Daktari featuring Clarence the cross-dressing lion. Rah, rah. Who got this wig's killing me? Rah, rah. Who'd you like me bra? Rah, rah, rah. Ew, these high heels, they're gonna break me bleeding ankles. Ew, rah. Of course, a big influence on me was the Goons. It's when I first heard the Goons that I realised that comedy didn't have to be funny. That it could be more like jazz, a load of wank.
Oh dear, dear.
I was actually born and brought up in the 50s. There was a lot less crime in the 50s, wasn't there? Which is just as well, really, because the police weren't as well equipped as they are today. Like, for example, they didn't have all that forensic equipment. Like our local police, for example, they didn't have one of those identikit outfits, All they had was a Mr. Potato Head. You know, where you get a potato and you stick on it like big orange ears and a big sticky out red nose. So they were always arresting Jimmy Somerville, mostly for crimes he did not commit. When you think about it, most toys in the 50s actually seemed to be potato-orientated. Like you had your Mr. Potato Head, you had the football game Spudutio, and then you had Spud Guns. Do you remember Spud Guns? These were guns that fired bits of potato. I mean, whose brilliant idea was that? Yes, okay, you got the Spud Gun, which is really big with the kids right now. Okay, fantastic, but then we improve on it with the broccoli rifle, which is gonna be mega, 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 mega. Okay, then get this, cauliflower cannon. Oh, yes, it's gonna wow the kids all over because you dig this. Sprout grenade! Sprout grenade! Oh, fantastic! Oh, I'm so excited. Oh, yes, can you dig it? Oh, yeah. The other day, I was talking to Millicent Tahagawoop Bawagawoop Kakawatokana. That's not her real name, by the way. But I was saying to her that for years, great statesmen and women have struggled to find a solution to the problems of Northern Ireland, without success. Well, no wonder there isn't a prize for whoever finds the solution, is there? I mean, if they wanted to get people who are good at solving stuff involved, they should find a solution to the problems of Northern Ireland a tiebreaker in Take a Break magazine and offer like a really brilliant prize, you know, like a 3-berth caravan. It'd be solved by First Post Tuesday. In the meantime, maybe we could do something to make orange marches less provocative. One way we could do this is to turn them into Hare Krishna marches. I mean, the Hare Krishnas, they're already orange, aren't they? So it would only take a few minor changes to completely alter the nature of the march. And nobody hates the Krishnas either, do they? I mean, they're just mildly annoying. And you don't throw petrol bombs at something that's only mildly annoying. Or maybe we could change the marches into something that people actually positively liked. Something that the Catholic community would actually encourage to march through their streets. Like Diddy Men. Yes, everybody loves Ken Dodd's Diddy Men, don't they? So let's all march with the Diddy Men. 2, 3, 4.
We are the Diddy Men. We are the Diddy Men. We are the Diddy Men. We come from Naughty Ash. We are the Diddy Men.
Hi, welcome to the gallery. This is a particular period that I'm interested in, Illuminations, 14th century. This one depicts the deeds of a group of Baroque musicians. Here you see their instruments, serpent, viol, lute and crumhorn. Must have sounded bloody awful. A lot of minstrels had a terrible mead problem. And here, this one is saying to the monk, "Line us up some nuns for after ye recital, my good man." And the other one is saying, "And none with men's namies. That Sister Henry of Perpetual Silence was a righty cow." Here we see the minstrels trying to throw a Caxton's printing press out of the window. And here, having failed to defenestrate the press, the minstrels try and print a likeness of their arses. You know, most people don't know as much about art as I do. And that's where these headphone thingies come in really useful.
Vessels at shore with men bathing was painted by the Dutch old master Henry van der Velde. Although a lesser-known 17th century painter, van der Velde was a contemporary of Rembrandt and studied at the Amsterdam School. You don't really understand this, but just look like you're appreciating it. Nod your head. Nod your head. Moment of realization. Move on now. Move on. Sit still. Sit still on your chair. Is anyone stealing the paintings? No. So just sit still on your chair. Between 1921 and 1936, if you look more closely at the painting, you'll be branded a pervert. Please, move away. Move away from the painting. Quickly. You are outside the gallery. You will notice notice it is a lovely day.
Recently, some friends of mine went to stay in a house in the country that was owned by one of the Freud family, a grandchild of the original Zygmunt. Turned out this house was absolutely huge, a mansion. I wondered how they had become so wealthy. Turns out it's royalties. You see, every time somebody goes mad in Britain, the Freud family gets 5p. I suppose it's fair enough, really, because the old Zigmeister Freud invented so many different kinds of mental illness, didn't he? It's only fair that when somebody uses one of them, the family gets a kickback. Of course, we understand mental illness much better now, don't we? Like, for instance, if somebody hears voices in their head, we now know that they're schizophrenic. But in the Middle Ages, of course, when somebody heard voices in their head, they thought they were possessed by demons. Mind you, there was one woman who said that inside her head there was a load of black people who went in and out of a barber's shop in south-east London. We now know that she was possessed by Desmonds. Of course, have you ever noticed that one of the things...
You have been hit by a Rover 2.6 without ABS fitted as standard. If you look closely, you will see that your skull is fractured in 3 places and you are hemorrhaging slightly. You may observe your life flashing before you. This won't take long.
Edna, during the last general election, was our local Lib Dem candidate called Lord Haw-Haw Monkfish Mallet's Head?
No.
Bloody waste of time giving me a vote then. Hey, no, look though, I must speak to you about being my agent and getting me some work, you know, because I've got tremendous outgoings at the moment. You know I'm on pills for me nerves. Well, the chemist I go to says above the door, established 2005, right? And apparently, prescription charges are going up something shocking in the next century.
Don't worry about it, Bobby dear. I'm working on it. I'm on the case. I've been thinking. You know that Eddie Lizard and that Lily Salvage? Well, you know they're transvestites, don't you?
What? They're hemispherical buildings made out of snow and occupied by American Inuits.
No, that's an igloo.
No. A transvestite is a man who dresses up as a woman.
Now, if you were prepared to do that, I reckon I could get you some performance-style work.
Perfume, madam. Cleansing tone, madam.
Ow, you're diddling! Bloody sod you then. Perfume, missus, perfume. Perfume, darling, perfume, there you go. Calvin Klein's underpants, lady. Perfume, missus. Calvin Klein's prostate. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's funny being a woman, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, blimey. Some people have actually accused me of being sexist, but that's nonsense. I'm not a sexist. Not unless a sexist is a bloke who hates all women. Perfume, lady, perfume. Holy moly. All right, missus, what's a bit of perfume? There you go. I'll tell you what, a while ago, I came into a bit of money, compensation. It was for a medical experiment which went hideously wrong, and it was just after my wife, my husband left me, yeah. And what happened was I sort of bought some tropical fish, lovely tropical fish they were. And I used to sit and watch these tropical fish for hours, swimming in and out iridescent colours, and they brought me a happiness and a contentment that I've never felt before. Anyway, one day my mate came round and he said, "Bobby, are your fish supposed to be floating on the top of your tank?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, I think they're dead." So I said, "Well, it's only a hobby." Safe. Oh! This stuff's wasted on women's elbows. Bobby's gonna have some of that. Here we go. It's not only does it get you pissed, it makes you smell nice as well.
That way.
I live alone. I don't have a girlfriend or anything. It's very sad when you live alone. I mean, if it wasn't for pickpockets, I wouldn't have any sex life at all. But often the most good-looking people are lonely because others are afraid to ask them out. Of course, the same is also true of people with hundreds of nails sticking out of their faces. I've got some pets, or as we call them now, animal guests. But you know, animal rights activists, they theorise that the world would be a better place if we were more like animals, if mankind was more like the animal kingdom. Well, I don't know if that's true. I mean, I don't think it'd be a good idea if men were more like dogs and they could lick their own bollocks. I mean, you'd never get any work done, would you? Have you got those invoices for me, Mr. Jenkins? I don't really understand women though, you know, and partly that's because I get a lot of my information about women from films and television, and I think films lie to us. Like, take the common scene in a film where a man comes into a women's changing room and all the women all wimpily go, ah, like that, ah. Hang on, their tits are there, aren't they? That's where I've been going wrong all these years, of course. What are you doing? Oh, I'm getting really excited. You've got no bra on. Common scene in a movie. Man comes into a women's changing room and all the women all wimpily go, like that. That's crap, isn't it? I mean, what would happen in real life if a man came into a women's changing room? They'd kick him in the bollocks and then call the police. At least that's always been my experience. Women are supposed to talk all the time about their emotions, aren't they? Well, in my experience, what women talk about all the time is their arses, the size of their arses. Oh, my bottom's so big. Oh, you could land a Harrier jump jet on my bottom. Honestly, if every woman's bottom was as big as she thought it was, Britain would be all bottom with some women round the coast. Row, 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 row. Men don't talk about their emotions, do they? Men actually talk about equipment, and they look at photos of equipment in equipment magazines. You know, magazines like Car Horn Today and Chromed Knobbly Useless Bit Off Yacht Monthly. I saw this magazine in a news agency the other day. It was called Reader's Lawn Mowers. Here's a photo of my fly mowing the bath, yeah. Ooh, look at her grass collector all covered in soapy sands.
This is TV's Alexei Sayle. In the 1980s, he appeared in the comedy show The Young Ones and his own series, Stuff. He is, however, best known for his Terry's Chocolate Orange voiceover. For a more current comedian, please see Lee Hurst.
The Chinese invented gunpowder, but used it only in firecrackers to scare away evil spirits. Alfred Nobel invented dynamite, but thought its primary use would be in removing stubborn tree stumps. And Philip Oppenheim, the father of the atomic bomb, thought that his device would be used primarily to remove gravy stains from the sleeves of wedding dresses. But the other aspect of successfully selling a product is marketing. And for every successful marketing campaign, there are a dozen failures. And I should know, because this year, trying to be new and different, I myself was the subject of a disastrous relaunch.
May we present the new Alexei Sayle with a pyramid-shaped head! The ancient Egyptians knew of the power of pyramids. This pyramid sail embodies these pharaonic principles of mystery and strength. The distinctive shape distinguishes him from other aggressive bald comedians, and the increased capacity of the head means more room for naughty swear words.
Initial feedback was promising, but then Ant and Dec relaunched themselves as hexagons, and it was always going to be a non-starter. I wasn't even the star of the trade fair. No, the 15% cockier Lee Hurst retained its stranglehold on the market.
Hurst for comedy, Hurst for swearing, Hurst for value, Hurst amongst equals, Hurst contact, boldly going. Here comes Hurst, he's got some comedy on the pitch. They think it's all over. It isn't yet.
The truth is, it's almost impossible to spot which products will succeed and which will fail. History is littered with executives who fail to see the potential in even the most dazzling of inventions.
So, Mr. Sayle, you're an inventor?
Well, I dabble, you know. I like to look for new things, and I think I've found something. I think it's going to be tremendously popular.
What is it?
Fire.
Ooh.
If you like to put your hand close to it, you'll feel that it's actually warm.
Oh.
But also, if we close the blinds, you see, keeps the darkness away.
But we have the sun to do that.
But what about when the sun goes down?
When the sun goes down, we know it's time to go to bed.
I really can't imagine the 18 to 35s going for this.
I just can't see it. Perhaps if it burnt another colour.
Bollocks. Have you ever read a newspaper and wondered what F***K meant? Well, it's society protecting us from unpleasantness. It's called censorship. I mean, who the F***K do they think that they're F***Elling? I mean, do they think that we're a pack of W***KERS's? I mean, I think they're just a load of J***, Japanese symbol for cat's bottom, LM***F's. I mean, we all know that ** stands for UC. Ugh. It really pisses me off, though. I mean, I can't look at a nice night sky without seeing uck, 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 uck,
When you
uck,
wish upon a star, makes no difference who you are.
Language. Yesterday, I ate a buffalo. Language allows us to communicate memory and experience. Bollocks. The non-invention of the wheel hit the sale of cars pretty badly. It was only the use of back projection screens that kept the car industry on its feet. What a journey we've had since then, eh? Ever since man learnt to walk. Sorry, baby learns to crawl. The history of man has been a history of travel, a desire to get away. And with the desire to get away came the need to create means of doing it. Some of the early examples look pretty ridiculous now. Seems crazy, doesn't it, eh? But it's easier understood in the context of a photo of the man who invented the penny farthing. Now there are thousands of people who cycle everywhere complaining that they don't have enough cycle lanes. Yes, they do. Look. There they are, between the curb and the yellow line. A narrow cycle lane, but a cycle lane nevertheless. And they cover Britain, so no more complaints, please. We've built cars that are faster, bigger, safer. Now they're trying to build an environmentally safe car. By current standards, an environmentally safe car would be one that isn't working. Solar cars, eh? The first British solar car was built by George Watson and Son. In 1975, they took it out for a 50-mile drive, which they completed yesterday. This country doesn't need a solar-powered car, it needs a rain-powered car. Now there's nowhere that man doesn't travel. Land, sea, air, space. Yippee! We're going everywhere and no one can stop us. We're like a really great disease. We're like the
Jehovah's Witnesses of the universe. There is life out there, but it's hiding because they don't want to meet us. The man in the moon is crouched behind his sofa, lights out, pretending not to be in, hoping that we'll go away. And I can't say I blame him. But not humans!
William Shakespeare is supposed to be the greatest playwright of all time, right? Not true. He wasn't a brilliant playwright at all. What it was that William Shakespeare had a load of really interesting mates, right? And all these interesting mates, they did the most fantastic things. And all he used to do was write it down and then put them on the stage. For instance, Shakespeare used to drink in the same pub as a bloke called Ken Lear, who had 3 daughters, Goneril, Cordelia and Eisenhower. Now, he split up his kingdom between his 2 evil daughters, they did him wrong, and he went mad. Except Ken Lear wasn't the king of old Britain, but instead ran a string of pie shops in Deptford. Similarly, Shakespeare used to play in the same five-a-side team as a bloke called Hamlet, whose father had been murdered by his uncle, but Hamlet was too dithery to do anything about it. Except it wasn't the Kingdom of Denmark, it was a string of eel-gutting factories in Southwark. Now, all right, even Shakespeare didn't know a bloke called Bottom who'd been turned into a donkey and lived in the woods with some fairies. But you have to remember that at that time, a lot of the medicine, and indeed a lot of the clothes and the food, contained opium. Similarly, Samuel Beckett was at school with a notoriously unpunctual bloke called Godot, and there wasn't anything that Kafka's mates wouldn't do for a laugh. What I'm trying to say is that successful writers aren't inventive at all. They just have really interesting friends. Now, by contrast, my pathetic circle of friends don't do anything at all. Their idea of a good time is an evening spent sitting in an armchair emitting a low hum, which is why this show hasn't been about anything.
You're with BBC Two's Comedy Zone, and we've got a show about the news next.